Hey, how y'all doing? So today I want to talk about this sort of subversion of evil. Basically, I saw the Cruella de Vil. They're making a movie about Cruella de Vil, the villain from the 101 Dalmatians, and just from the 2 minutes that I saw, I was like, I know what they're doing. They're trying to create a sympathetic villain or a misunderstood hero out of this evil ass person, right? This has become a trend in Hollywood lately. This Cruella movie is going to be the female version of the Joker film that came out a couple of years ago. So the Joker, which I actually did see, I saw that movie twice. What it did was it took this guy, I think his name was Arthur, and they basically put him in a blender. He's got mental problems. His mom hates him. The people at work bully him. He's not respected by any soul. Nobody likes him. He's delusional. And everybody essentially treats him like shit for the entire movie until he snaps. And so he's justified in doing horrible things to these people because he was treated like shit his whole life. There is no light in his life at all. So that's I think that's what we're going to get with this Cruella de Vil movie. Haven't never seen it. Of course, it's not out yet. I'm just guessing, right? Just guessing. Because woke Hollywood has decided that, there is no such thing as evil for evil's sake. It's part of the atheistic view of the world. It's also part of the rejection of science. So it's like what Jeffrey Miro called the blank slate myth. As a matter of fact, let's talk about that real quick. So Jeffrey Miller, he is an evolutionary psychologist. Now, some people feel a certain way about evolutionary psychology, but I think this is pretty interesting what he said. He says, remember, kids, the implicit goal of Hollywood's quote unquote origin stories featuring evil characters is to reinforce the blank slate myth that all evil results from early traumas, social oppression, and toxic ideologies, not from any evolutionary or genetic influences. So, now I'm not going to tackle this subject. It's a little too deep for me in this YouTube channel, you know. So I'm not going to go into that. I want to talk about more about the culture, right? So I kind of lean towards more of the mythology type of way of looking at things. Now, I'm not the best with the Bible, right? But I've studied some different mythologies all throughout the world, and all of them have a devil, some version of the devil, and it may have 100 different names, but it's usually every society has some version of the devil or a devil, an irredeemable, inexplainably evil character that usually poisons other people and poisons them and pushes them towards doing horrible, evil things. They're the center point, the focus of all evil, right? And these characters, a lot of these characters that they've been working with for the last couple of years, like Cruella de Vil, like the Joker, they are evil, as in they're the devils of their universe, right? They are the center point. The reason why other characters are evil is because of them, What they're trying to do is they're trying to take those characters and say they're not really evil. They're not really bad. They were made bad, usually by, in some ways, the heroes or the victims in the story. Give you a couple of examples so you won't get lost. And maybe I know I'm kind of might jump all over the place, but I'll give you some examples. The Cruella de Vil trailer. What jumped out at me was over the voiceover, she's talking about how she was born different. She was born a bit bad, which is kind of flies in the face of what Jeffrey Miller was saying. But here's what she says. She says, but that didn't sit well with certain people. And you see her trying to kind of coming into this social circle where everybody's all snooty and they're looking very snobbish and they got Dalmatians. And she seems like she's the outsider, right? And when I saw the Dalmatians, I was like, fuck you, I know what you're doing. You're going to try to make these dogs the reason why she hates Dalmatians. and therefore is going to justify her murdering Dalmatians in the future. Fuck you. There is no justification. This is also, and I'm gonna go crazy conspiracy theory with this one. If you know about like the Cerberus, right, the three-headed dog that guards the gates of hell, right? These three dogs are guarding the gates of hell, which is what I guess I'm guessing. Just gonna guess. Gonna make a wild fucking guess, and maybe somebody's gonna hear this video in the future and be like, "You were right or you were wrong." Is that she wants to join this social circle, but these dogs are going to be the owner of these dogs are probably going to be the chief person that's fucking with her, the chief bully, quote unquote, right? Because in these twisted stories, it's always the victim or the hero that causes their own problems. I'll give you another example. The Joker movie, right? One of the characters that kicks and shits all over Arthur Fleck, I think that was the name, Arthur Fleck in the movie, is Thomas Wayne. Thomas Wayne is the father of Bruce Wayne, the Batman, right? So it's like, well, if Bruce's dad had been nicer, then maybe not wouldn't have been a Joker in the first place. Well, I'll be damned. Like, that's bullshit. It's bullshit. Look at Killmonger, right? Killmonger becomes a murderous nut. But it's not his fault. He blames Whitey, and then he blames Wakanda. He invades Wakanda while blaming Wakanda. It's your fault I'm invading you. You know? This is your fault. You did this to yourself. Like, this is insane. Like, so it teaches you that you're pretty much causing your own victimization, right? Now, what does this have to do with anything? This is what it has to do. I had a conversation with somebody the other day. Well, I saw some conversations being had, and I kind of joined in. And there were some people who were talking about the kulaks, right? Or their families from Cuba or something like that. You know, communists always having these conversations. And they found a way to blame people who were run out of the country. They blamed it on their own families. It's your fault you had to flee Cuba, right? Because you were selfish. You wanted to work and keep and own property. You wanted to take from the people. And because you wanted to take from the people and you didn't want to share, you got what you deserved, which is chased out of Cuba, and maybe potentially you could have been murdered. You can see this all the time. The victims created their own problems, right? You see this with, I think I just talked about this with Gina Carano, right? Where she started talking about the Nazis and the Jews, right? The Nazis blame the Jews. You know, you're robbing our society blind. You know, you're the bankers, you're the money changers, you are in control of the money. It is your fault that now we have to come and remove you from our country. It's your fault. You started it. The Hutus and the Tutsis. I forget which one it was. I'm never really that good which one group it is. I'm pretty sure it's the Tutsis that was being murdered. It's your fault you was being murdered. We have to kill you because you partnered with the white man to oppress us. Right? That's the thinking that they have going on here. And they're implanting this shit into movies. And the worst thing about it is they're implanting this shit into children's movies. Now, I may be a crazy conspiracy theorist. I may have, my aluminum tinfoil hat on. But hear me out on this. Why do they keep doing it? Why do they reject the conception of evil? And it could be because, they're atheistic. And I'm more agnostic myself. I'm not gonna say I'm a Bible thumper by any means. But if you're a believer, then you know that things are evil. There is a source of evil. That in some cases, there's, like in the early days, excuse me, When we first created prisons in the United States, there was a belief that you could lock somebody up because they were hearing voices from the devil telling them to do things. And so locking them up was a way of separating them so that their evil wouldn't poison everybody else, right? This concept has gone away. And now we're saying that, okay, it's not the devil whispering to people, and it's not them being manipulated by evil spirits. That's kind of stuff that happens in fiction. This is what we have here, is that people are being made evil by our society, because that's how we see the world now. You don't believe me? Look at how many people they say, well, they only steal because they're poor. They only rob people because they're poor. They only do these things to people because they're poor. If they were not poor, they wouldn't do it. Completely ignoring all of the other people who are poor who don't rob folks. There is always this built-in excuse that it's either you creating your own problems, or you, the victim, didn't really cause the problem, but the society that you lived in caused the problem. It's the lack of jobs. That's why there's so many people out here selling drugs and robbing and raping and stuff. Like, people think that, you can fix certain problems by forcing things upon people. Like, no, you can't. You have to understand that what drives people is individual things. I'll give you a good example from fictional story. Spider-Man 2, right? Dr. Octopus. What was Dr. Octopus's ambition? I think he wanted to create like enough energy to power a city. He was a mad scientist, right? He had these dreams, these ambitions. Now, and it was these dreams and these ambitions that caused him to sort of bend his morality, or utterly break his morality, right? Become evil, And I know, Spider-Man 2, they did the obvious thing. He's not evil. His brain is poisoned by these inanimate objects that all of a sudden become sentient. The tentacles are poisoning his brain. It's like bullshit. The guy's ambition, his desires, is what pushed him. He made a choice. He made a decision to be evil. It wasn't that his brain was fucking rotten by robots. Get the fuck out of here with that. Right? He's fucking evil. Maybe he didn't see it that way at first. If you want to be dramatic and tell the story in a dramatic way, maybe he didn't see it that way at first. But by the time he's launching cars at Peter Parker's fucking head, he's evil. All right? Not caring and indiscriminate and destroying property. Nearly killing civilians. He's evil. Why are we blaming this shit on robots in his brain? Come on, man. But that's a good example of the kind of things that push people forward. People rob and steal because it's easier money than going to work. Okay? It is. There is no, well, if I had a job, I wouldn't need to do that. It's like bullshit. Bullshit. They do it because some people prefer fast money over slow money. Why get $100 in 2 weeks when I can get $100 today? I mean, shrug, right? Try pitching that idea. And you never hear anybody talk about that, do you? They always say, well, these kids are out here selling drugs because there's no jobs. I'm like, no, they sell drugs because they can get money fast. That's the point. Most of them want money right now. They don't understand the concept of accruing money. Then in some jobs, you have to work a week in a hole, 2 weeks in a hole, or some shit like that. I worked a job where I had to work 2 weeks in a hole once. It means you got to go to work every day, 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours, and you don't get paid. And then week 3, you finally get paid. Some people, man, you tell them that, they laugh at you. Like, you fucking serious? I'm not doing that. Not when I can go and shoot this move and come back with your whole paycheck in 20 minutes. And that's what they're thinking about. That is what pushes people to do crime. Is that certain people just have a different philosophy on life. You know, the ends justify the means. You know, that's one of the sources of evil that we got out here. And I'm not saying that people can't be forced and manipulated into doing bad things. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is these characters that we're talking about here, Cruella de Vil, Joker, and some other characters out there, these characters are classically evil, right? They're evil in a devil sense, that they are the villains, the evil villains of the universe, right? And because they're evil villains of the universe, that's really what people like about them. That's what makes the story so relatable. You get it? That people like seeing purity of goodness and purity of evil. Now, that is a binary system, right? You know, good, evil, these two things do not mix. There is no, the villains, the hero is somewhat bad. The villain is somewhat good. There's none of that shit. It's villain, hero, the two collide. They don't mix, right? They collide. They don't mix. But in today's more twisted morality, these things are mixing so much now. So you have to ask the question that sometimes when you see weird shit, what's going on? Like when they got so upset about the Joker, right? Like I see a lot of people so happy about Cruella de Vil. I see so many people happy about Harley Quinn, which is another flip, because Harley Quinn is also evil. She's not, the devil. The Joker is the devil, but she's evil. Now, some people can say Harley was made evil by the Joker. The Joker manipulated her. And I say, well, in other tellings of the story, Harley Quinn chose to go with the Joker. She chose evil because she hated her life as it was. And she preferred the life that he was going to offer her. But then, of course, we saw the face turn when they started going towards domestic violence. When that shit flipped and I started seeing domestic violence in those comic books, I was like, oh, shit, face turn. She about to become a good guy. And they're going to forget all about all the evil shit she did. And that's pretty much what happened. She's now a sex symbol. And all talk of her being evil before is that she's just a flirty bad girl. I'm bad girl in a cute way. And not in I blew up a building way. Which is how she's a terrorist. I mean, come on. But that sort of mentality is sort of permeating through society. Is that, we can blame other people. You create your own problems. If you're the hero, well, must be something that you've done wrong. If you claim to be the victim, then there must be something that you did wrong. And these are like grand evils, by the way. I'm not talking about you got suspended from Twitter and then they say, well, you did it to yourself. I'm talking like these people rounded up family members and shot them. And then had the audacity, to be like, well, you did something. They didn't just round up your family and shoot them for no reason. It's like, yeah, sometimes they do. Sometimes they do. Or the reasoning doesn't matter because this act itself is evil. Like the craziest thing is when we talk about this stuff and we talk about the subversion of evil and we're talking about blank slates and we're talking about fictional characters and we're talking about Hollywood, we have to maintain that this stuff is propaganda, right? It is propaganda. It's bullshit. And you can say, well, what's the harm in creating a villain origin story? For me, it's no, because I'm not going to watch it. I mean, or I probably won't see it. So it doesn't matter. But ultimately, for when you create this concept of relativism, where it depends on which chair you're sitting in, whether somebody's good or bad, outside of we should be looking at their behaviors, we should be trying to relate to them. It's like, no. I thought skinning puppies was like horrible shit. But now it's like, well, if you have a rough childhood, that may make you want to skin puppies. Therefore, I can understand that you would skin puppies. And maybe skinning the puppies are justified if they're the puppies of these three evil dogs of this evil person or whatever. It's like, come on, man, this is some bullshit. That's a lot of logic jumps that we got to do here. You know, like we're dealing with people who don't understand conceptions of good and evil. I've said this before on this channel, at least at some point. You know, and we see it through all sorts of storytelling. But I understand what they're going to say. Like if I was just bring this up to them and question their morality of creating this story, of trying to continually justify why characters are evil, y'all would probably say to me, well, we're just trying to write a dramatic story. It's not meant to, justify any evil characters or any evil things that they do. It's just to make a dramatic story. We're trying to write drama here. We're trying to write a story. You're trying to make some money. Isn't that what you want? You're a capitalist. And I would say, yeah, but you can make a dramatic story within the structure of how the character already existed, right? Like you don't need to make the Joker a sympathetic character to make a dramatic story about the Joker being evil. You know, the Joker being evil is pretty fucking dramatic if you do it right. Like if you imagine like the movie where the kid died. Goddamn, what was the name of that kid? I was about to say Val Kilmer. That's not his name. Anyway, he wasn't even in the whole movie. The Dark Knight. He wasn't even in the movie. He died during filming. But they did enough of the dramatic stuff with the Joker in that movie where it was great. His performances was top notch. And they didn't try to explain where the Joker came from. Didn't matter. He was they didn't try to put limitations on him. Didn't matter. There was no, well, these guys deserved it. He did and yes, he tortured some villains and stuff like that too, but it was no, him marauding, doing bad things to good people, or rather doing bad things to bad people for good reasons or anything like that. It was, he had his own reasons, and his own reasons were not explained, or when they were explained, they were poorly explained because that's how psychopaths work. Psychopaths do wild, crazy, evil shit. Can't really explain why they did it. It may make sense in some ways, in other ways it don't. But then really what you see is, the backlash from it. Like when they made the Joker movie. A lot of the backlash that came from that movie was, oh my God, the incels, they're going to go out and shoot women. They're going to hate women. Because Joker was being bullied by his mom. He was being mistreated by his mom. He was obsessed with this woman who didn't know he existed. And all of a sudden, this means that he was going to, various young men were going to go out and start being like the extraordinary gentleman and doing horrible things. And I said to myself, no. Those are special kind of nut jobs, right? And those people exist. Like I said, the Jeffrey Dahmers, the insane people who kill and eat folks, the people who stack bodies in basements. There's no amount of molestation, no amount of my daddy didn't love me, my pop, my mom left me. There's no amount of anything that can justify you killing, eating, and murdering, young boys and shit like that. There's no justification for it. Those people are just fucking evil. Evil exists. And it exists in a physical level, a spiritual level, and maybe even scientifically. And sometimes maybe these people are born fucked up in their head, And without appropriate interventions, maybe at certain points, like the people who get pleasure out of torturing animals, they eventually go on to get pleasure in torturing people. Are we going to blame? Who are we going to blame for that? But that's not what that's a little too deep into this thing. I want to keep it cultural. Then you have some systems, right? Like the Joker brought out the whole, everybody's an incel, and, the incels are going to kill us. The incels are going to kill us. The next thing was the Punisher. Right, so we had the Punisher. This was last year. Now, when the Punisher the TV show came out, there was a similar situation, except for it wasn't the incels, it was the fascists. Oh, the Punisher is a fascist hero, because bad guy cops, they pick up the Punisher skull and put it on, and then they it's the Punisher is evil. He goes around, he kills criminals, and he doesn't try to fix their problems. Like, the Punisher's not a fucking social worker, and neither is a police officer. But I feel what you're saying. No, we don't want the police officers idolizing the Punisher. That's not what we want. So I can understand that on that level. At the same time, if you know anything about the Punisher, you know that the Punisher, one, does not want to be idolized by police. Two, the Punisher only kills bad guys. So when they was complaining and wanted the Punisher taken away, what are they trying to do? If, in terms of story, they're trying to protect the bad guys. Why? Why? What are you protecting the bad guys from? But you also have to understand that the Punisher exists in a universe where there are pure heroes. Specifically, two of the people that, hate the Punisher the most is Spider-Man and Daredevil. Daredevil is explicitly religious. He doesn't see the Punisher as being the devil, though. He has sympathy for him. He understands that the Punisher has had a rough life, that his wife was murdered, his children were murdered, and, that is in some ways opened the floodgates to him being a psycho. Spider-Man, similar. Neither one of these guys kill. They don't believe in killing. Daredevil, which is one of my favorite superheroes, by the way, he believes in redemption because he has that strong Catholic streak in him. He believes in redemption. He believes that the Punisher can be redeemed. He believes that the Kingpin can be redeemed. He believes that if you punish them for what they did, they break the law, you take them down. You take them down, you put them in prison, and hopefully when they get out, they'll be better people. That's the strength of Daredevil. That's the strength of Batman too. Batman has that, but he's not as explicitly religious. And I think Batman is Jewish, actually, if I remember correctly, or maybe that's just Kate Kane, his cousin, before they made her black in the TV show. Anyway, you understand what I'm saying? Like, good heroes tend to believe that people are naturally good, or that they have good in them. It just needs to be brought out. They need to be separated from society for a little while, learn their lesson, and then they can be reintegrated later. But then you have the Punisher, who believes that, hey, if you cross the line once, that's enough to erase you off the face of the earth. Like, that's a bit extreme. But I also love when people play with these ideas. For instance, when there was a Punisher and Batman crossover, there was the idea of the Punisher just going to murder the Joker, and so you had Batman trying to protect the Joker from the Punisher. Like that's great philosophy right there, because Batman has no reason to try to protect the Joker. Joker's a fucking chaotic, evil person. The only thing is, Batman just has this morality where he cannot let you go around murdering people. He just can't let you do it. So even if you are a quote-unquote sympathetic guy, even if, the Joker is the worst human being ever born, he still can't let you do it. That's what a hero is. But when we have now in our society is our heroes are skinning puppies and been kicked in the balls, and these are these psychological profiles that we're looking at here, and they're dumping this shit into our kids' heads that if you mistreat people, they may turn evil and come back and kill you. So you gotta respect everybody, and there's no. I mean, look, I get it. Like, you should respect people anyway, but the world is not going to be perfect utopia where everybody's going to make all the right decisions all the time. All right, just because you were not 100% nice to somebody doesn't give them the right to. I saw a lot of fire in that Cruella de Vil movie, so I'm guessing she's going to burn somebody's shit down. Like, pretty sure they're probably going to write a story where that person is justified in doing so. She's justified in doing so. But that's not what the character is. The character should not, need justification. If you're evil, you don't need to justify what you're doing. You don't need to explain it either. You just have You do evil shit. And there's reasons for it that people can't quite explain. Or you can't quite explain, or they can't quite understand. And they're not meant to. Like, we're not meant to understand the nature of evil. Right? We're not, if you're a good person, you're not meant to understand the evil. You're only supposed to respond to it. You know, you're not supposed to be like, oh, I get it. I understand why, you know, Cain killed Abel. I get it. You know, it's Abel's own fault for trying to show him up. You know, it's like, what the fuck are you talking about? That's not, no. You know, but that's the artistic thinking, the progressive perversion of evil and goodness. And it just continues and continues. I know this video has been meandering a lot, but we've seen, like, over and over again that these evil characters are being turned into sympathetic baby faces or sympathetic villains. And a sympathetic villain is worthless. You know, it's worthless. They need to be strong villains, because then you have strong heroes. And these people don't believe in heroes at all. You know, or they believe that heroes are people who blow whistles. You know, people who are snitches and run to the reporters or run to the government, that you can't possibly intervene and stop. You see evil taking place, you step in and stop it. You're the bad guy. You know, that's why they do stuff like heroes, or the superheroes are just cops with capes. You know, and the cops are the bad guys. And the bad guys, the robbers, the rapists, or whatever, well, not the rapists, because, you know, misogyny, but the robbers, the muggers, the thieves, the people who busted into windows and, you know, stole out of stores during the riots. Woe is me. Woe is them. You know, they're just misunderstood. You know, you try to uphold the law. You're trying to the law equals things like white supremacy and misogyny and racism and transphobia. You know, trying to have your own property is bad. Stealing from other people, not good, but not that bad either. And that's like fucked up, you know, like this fucked up view of the world. You know, that's a fucked up view of the world. And this is where it begins. It begins in the culture. Because once you start teaching this relativism, that people are not bad and that things are not bad, individual ideas and individual actions are not bad. It's okay to steal if you're hungry, right? Once you start teaching people that, it's okay to murder people if they cross you. You know, people won't let you into their social circle. It's okay to be vengeful against them. The kids soak that shit up. They're just sponges, man. You know, Spider-Man 2 was some bullshit. Not Spider-Man 2, Amazing Spider-Man 2, where you have the story of Electro basically trying to be Spider-Man's good buddy. And then Spider-Man kind of rejecting him, like, whatever. And then he was like, oh my God, and he spazzed out and started killing people. I'm like, no, we need to have this sympathetic shit. This, everybody is justified in doing what they do, or I'm trying to understand. It's like, why not just let people be bad? That's what they are. They're bad. I cannot wait for them to remake The Lion King, where Mufasa was the villain the whole time. It was Mufasa that scarred Scar. You know, he was bullying them when they were cubs. And so then Mufasa just, it was just Scar throwing Mufasa off the cliff. You know, it was it was payback. It was karma, because Mufasa was the bad guy the whole time. He was bullying him. That's really where we're going. We're headed towards Mufasa was the bad guy anyway. You know, Bambi's mother deserved it because she sucks or something like. I don't know, man. Maybe it's just me. You know, maybe I'm just being paranoid, but I really feel bad for these kids, man. They're not getting pure heroism, or, you know, they're not getting pure evil either. They're getting a mixture of, well, don't you see how, you know, if you do this to this person, how they would get very, very mad and do bad things to you. Yeah, I can see that. And then they grow up thinking that, oh yeah, so yeah, when when Che Guevara and all of them stormed Cuba and they started lining people up and shooting them. See, those people, they were puppets of the United States. So it was okay to shoot them, right? Yeah, I guess. I mean, they were traitors to the revolution. I guess they should get shot. Like these people were trying to hide Jews. They deserve to get shot, right? I mean, if the Jews are robbing the country blind, then, aiding the Jews and robbing the country blind, you should be able to shoot those people, right? Like, yeah, I guess, if they're, if the Jews are that bad, it's like, it's propaganda. It's setting people up to have twisted, fucked up morality. That's my point here. And it probably took me 35 minutes to get it out, but that's it. It's teaching people fucked up morality. Things sometimes need to just be black and white. Not saying all the time. Sometimes things need to be black and white. I don't need to wake up one day and find out that The Walking Dead is trying to justify the zombies. Or what the zombies are because, you didn't take your vaccine. Some shit. Like, get the fuck out of here with that. But, all right, man. I've talked enough. So, thank you guys for listening. I'll talk to you guys later. If you want to send money, the Cash App will be in the comment section. Hit the like button if you please, and I'll talk to you guys later.
Yeah.